Have you ever known exactly what you want to say in English, but when it's time to speak, your brain suddenly goes blank? You know the words. You understand the question. You even know the answer in your own language. But then your brain does something that feels completely automatic. You create the sentence in your language, translate it into English, check the grammar, check the pronunciation, and by the time you are ready to speak, the conversation has already moved on. If this sounds familiar, there is nothing wrong with your English. The problem is not that you don't know enough English. The problem is that your brain is using English as a translation system instead of using it as a language. And in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to break that habit. Because imagine what would happen if someone asked you a question in English and you didn't have to translate anything. You simply understood the question. Your brain created the idea, and the English sentence came out naturally. That is the skill we're going to build. But first, you need to understand something very important. Thinking in English does not mean sitting alone and trying to think complicated English sentences all day. You don't need to think, "Today, I shall contemplate the various activities that I intend to undertake." Nobody thinks like that in normal conversation. Real English thinking is much simpler. You wake up and think, "I'm tired." You look outside and think, "It's raining." You check the time and think, "I'm late." You open the fridge and think, "There's nothing to eat." You pick up your phone and think, "Where did I put my charger?" Notice something interesting. You didn't translate those ideas word by word. You simply connected the situation directly to English. And that is exactly what we want your brain to learn. Right now, many English learners have a hidden middle step. They see something, they think in their first language, and then they translate. We need to remove that middle step. Let's make this extremely simple. Imagine I show you a picture of an apple. You don't need to think of the word for apple in your first language and then convert it into English. You see the object, and your brain immediately connects it with the word apple. That is direct thinking. Now imagine you see rain outside. Instead of thinking about the sentence in your native language first, train yourself to immediately think, "It's raining." You see your bed. Go to sleep. You see your phone. Where's my phone? You feel hungry. I'm hungry. You feel cold. I'm cold. These sentences are simple, and that's exactly why they are powerful. Because if you try to think in advanced English from the beginning, your brain will go straight back to translation. So we're going to start with the English you already know. And here's where things get interesting. You don't need to translate everything you hear. In fact, trying to understand every single word can actually slow you down. Think about how you learned your first language. When someone said a sentence to you as a child, you didn't open a dictionary in your head. You didn't analyze every word. You connected the sounds with meaning. That is what we want to develop again. For example, when you hear someone say, "Come here," you don't need to translate the sentence. You understand the meaning immediately. When someone says, "Wait a minute," you understand it immediately. When someone says, "I'm on my way," you understand the idea immediately. So instead of memorizing English as individual words, start learning English as complete chunks. Don't just learn hungry. Learn, "I'm hungry." Don't just learn busy. Learn, "I'm a little busy right now." Don't just learn idea. Learn, "I have an idea." Don't just learn understand. Learn, "I don't understand." Because when you learn complete phrases, your brain doesn't have to build the sentence from zero every time. The phrase becomes available as one unit. And this can make speaking much faster. Now let's try something. Look around you. Don't translate what you see. Just describe it in simple English. If you're sitting in a room, think, I'm sitting in my room. The door is open. The fan is on. My phone is on the table. I'm watching a video. Don't worry if the sentences are extremely easy. Easy English is not bad English. Easy English is the foundation of fluent English. And once your brain becomes comfortable producing simple sentences automatically, you can slowly make them more complex. Here's another powerful technique. Start talking to yourself. Yes, actually talk to yourself. You don't need an audience. You don't need a teacher. You don't even need a partner. If you're getting ready in the morning, say, I'm going to take a shower. Where's my towel? I need to get dressed. I have to leave soon. I'm running late. If you're cooking, I'm making some coffee. The water is boiling. I need some sugar. This smells good. If you're going somewhere, I'm leaving now. I need to catch the bus. I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm almost there. You're not practicing random sentences. You're teaching your brain to connect real situations with English. And that connection is extremely important. Because the goal isn't to speak English only when you're sitting in an English class. The goal is to make English available during your normal life. Now, there is another mistake that makes translation even worse. Trying to create perfect sentences before speaking. Let's say someone asks you, "What did you do yesterday?" Your brain might start doing this. What is the correct tense? Should I use went or have gone? Is this sentence grammatically correct? Should I say yesterday evening or last evening? And while your brain is checking everything, you're silent. But a fluent speaker doesn't always build a perfect sentence before speaking. They communicate the idea first. You could simply say, yesterday, I went to the market. I bought some food and came home. That's it. Simple, clear, natural. Fluency is not the ability to create perfect sentences at lightning speed. Fluency is the ability to keep your ideas moving. So from today, give yourself permission to make small mistakes. If you wait until your English is perfect before you speak, you will keep waiting. Instead, speak. Notice the mistake, learn the better version, and use it next time. That's how your automatic English improves. Now let's take this one step further. Instead of translating individual words, start asking yourself questions in English. For example, what am I doing? What do I need? Where am I going? What should I eat? What time is it? Who should I call? What do I need to finish today? Then answer yourself in English. I'm making breakfast. I need some water. I'm going to work. I'll eat something light. It's 9 o'clock. I should call my friend. I need to finish this video. This little habit can completely change the way your brain interacts with English, because you're no longer waiting for someone else to give you an English sentence. You're generating English yourself. And that is the difference between recognizing English and actually using English. You may already understand thousands of English words. You may watch English videos every day. You may understand movies. You may understand what native speakers are saying. But when you have to speak, suddenly those words disappear. Why? Because recognition and production are two different skills. You can recognize a word when someone says it without being able to retrieve that word quickly when you need it. That's why listening alone isn't always enough. You need to practice retrieving English. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to describe your day. At night, instead of simply thinking about what happened, tell yourself what happened in English. I woke up at 7. I had breakfast. I went to work. I spoke to my friend. I came home. I watched a video. I was tired, so I went to bed. Tomorrow, make those sentences slightly longer. I woke up at 7 because I didn't sleep well. I went to work, but the traffic was terrible. I came home early because I wasn't feeling energetic. You're slowly teaching your brain to build ideas directly in English. And here's something you should remember. You do not have to eliminate your native language from your brain. That's impossible, and you don't need to. The goal isn't to never use your first language again. The goal is to stop depending on it for every English sentence. Think of translation like training wheels on a bicycle. They are useful when you're learning, but eventually you need to ride without them. And you don't remove the training wheels by throwing the bicycle away. You remove them gradually. So start small. Don't try to spend an entire day thinking only in English. Start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes when you wake up. 5 minutes while you're walking. 5 minutes while you're cooking. 5 minutes before you go to sleep. During those 5 minutes, make a rule. No translation. If you don't know a word, don't stop. Explain the idea using words you already know. This is a secret that many learners overlook. You don't need to know the perfect word to communicate. Imagine you forget the word umbrella. You can say, "the thing I use when it rains." Maybe that's not the perfect sentence, but you communicated. And communication is the goal. Over time, your vocabulary will grow because your brain is constantly searching for ways to express ideas. And that search itself is practice. So the next time you forget a word, don't immediately switch to your native language. Stay in English. Describe it. Explain it. Find another way. That's how you build flexibility. And now I want you to remember one final thing. You don't become fluent because one day you suddenly start thinking in English. You start thinking in English because you repeatedly use English in small moments every single day. A sentence today, a conversation tomorrow, a thought while you're walking, a question while you're cooking, a description while you're getting ready. Little by little, the English stops feeling like something you're translating and starts feeling like something you're using. And eventually, something strange happens. You hear an English sentence and you don't translate it. You see something. And the English word appears automatically. Someone asks you a question, and you answer before your brain has time to translate. That is the moment you're looking for. Not perfect English, automatic English. So starting today, whenever you catch yourself translating, don't get frustrated. Just stop, take the idea, and try to express it with the English you already know. Start simple, stay consistent, and let your brain build the connection. Because the fastest way to stop translating English is to start using English directly. And if you practice this every day, you may be surprised by how different speaking feels after a few weeks. You won't suddenly know every word. You won't suddenly have perfect grammar. But you'll notice something much more important. The pause before speaking will become shorter. Your sentences will come faster. And English will begin to feel less like a subject you're studying and more like a language you're actually living. So the next time you catch yourself translating in your head, remember just 4 words. See it, think it, say it in English, and keep doing it. That's how you stop translating and start thinking in English.